When it comes to horror games, I can't say I'm all that well versed. The majority of my experience comes from playing Amnesia and being so afraid of the monster that I actually wound up hiding from it the entirety of the game to where I never saw it on screen. Whether that was a blessing or a curse, I may never know, and I'm okay with that. Everything else that I've tried has been one good jump scare to an exit because frankly, my heart just can't take it. Oh, fucking fuck!
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So when my little Twitch community decided to vote on Detention for me to play, the regret that I felt was, it was a lot. It was a lot. Thank you. But having recently completed it, I will say it is honestly one of the best horror games that I have ever played. Detention is a 2D point-and-click freaking nightmare, where you play as two different students in Taiwan in the 1960s while it's under martial law. First, you play as Wei Chong-ting, and then after that you will be playing as Feng Rei Xin. They're both students at Greenwood High School. Developed by Red Candles Games, it was released in 2017 and won Best Design in the Taipei Game Show. I am probably butchering that, I am so very sorry. Now, I will be trying to avoid revealing too many spoiler-heavy parts regarding the game. However, if you do want to play it completely blind, I would recommend you click away now, as some things that I talk about will kind of spoil, in my opinion, the overall vibe of the game. The whole point of it is that it's mystery and you're constantly on your toes. So please, if you haven't played it yet and are wanting to, click away now. You can come back to the review after you've finished. We start off in Wei's classroom, where he is seen nodding off during a lecture, only to wake up in a now entirely empty room, as a typhoon is on the way. After some exploring, you meet Rei, who is asleep on the auditorium stage in a chair. She is unsure of how she got there and missing her beloved necklace, which she doesn't directly ask you to help her find. However, you can't really progress in the game without offering your help. After finding her necklace, the two make their way outside to try and return home to safety before the typhoon gets to be too vicious. However, they come upon the unsettling sight of the bridge being knocked out and a splashing river of crimson liquid flowing by. Unable to get back into town without the bridge, Wei and Rei return to the school, taking refuge in Wei's classroom. We get to see the two have a little bit of a nice bond before Wei decides to try to call out from the principal's phone in his office, only to seemingly start to vanish as he walks down the eerie outside hallway. This is where we take over as Rei, who wakes up in the auditorium again, only this time Wei is hanging behind her from his feet, seemingly dead. And it's here that our story actually begins. For me, what makes Detention such a great horror game is they don't just rely on jump scares. Instead, they rely on their main setting. An oppressive country under martial law, forcing teenagers to face the fact that they have very little free will, and the evils that will haunt your mind once you come to that realization. They combine this environment with real-life troubles that a good majority of us could probably relate to, and then they show us the repercussions that could happen in this country during this time. Then they dash in the little spirits that chase after you and kill you very horrifically if you get caught, creating for a beautiful tie between the history of Taiwan and its culture. To be more specific about the actual history part of this game, this is actually set during a time in Taiwan called the White Terror, which I had never even heard about before. It was a 38-year period in which Taiwan was under martial law after an anti-government uprising, which also led to approximately 18,000 to 28,000 Taiwanese deaths. It was a period where anyone thought to be a communist or a communist sympathizer would be jailed or put to death. This specific atmosphere is reiterated throughout the game, but more specifically with the JROTC instructor Bai Gao Feng. Students fear him for his angry personality, as well as the rumors of how he acted during the war. He is incredibly patriotic and is the one that puts the notice on the bulletin board that any student should report any treasonous behavior. We also see this atmosphere through quick and disturbing cutscenes, adding to the confusion and brutality of the reality of this time period. There are soft mentions of the oppressive nature within the school as well, one specific moment being with Ray while in the projector room. The developers at Red Candles Games said that they wanted this game to tie in both their history as well as their culture, which I feel they did beautifully. Although also terrifyingly, most of the time you can see their culture in puzzles, having to find specific items to open doorways. Or clues into how to hide or distract the Lingered, which is the name given to the spirits in the game. The history, like I said before, does seem to sit with the main setting as well as the main plot of the game itself, but the culture is a lot more subtle, which I really did appreciate. I liked that you kind of had to walk around and you picked up these pieces of paper explaining kind of the way spirits worked. Not only that, but you also got to see these miniature subplots that essentially showed society's view on specific things. I found these subplots incredibly compelling, and I personally feel it did a phenomenal job at placing me in the characters' shoes, making me care about them. Not only do they make the characters relatable with actual life events that we may have actually encountered personally, but they keep you engaged and wanting to learn more about why this is happening and why this is the way life is. It's also one of the few games that I found that does a really good job at putting the puzzle pieces together while you're playing the game. A lot of the times with horror games, I'm finding that I have to sit afterwards and think about what was happening because there were so many jump scares that I wasn't really paying attention. I was in fight or flight mode most of the game. In Detention, you're actually kind of learning as you go, and it's a nice slower paced game that relies more so on atmosphere being scary than it does jump scaring you. As I've mentioned, I think a few times during this review, the ambiance and the atmosphere is beyond chilling. The music creating and building tension as the sobbing and screeching of the very first Lingered you encounter starts to creep up your neck. It only makes for a stronger sense of urgency. I found myself jumping at things that I thought were following me, but in fact weren't in the slightest. All that was happening was that there was a change in the background music. That was it. A huge applaud to Weifeng Cheng, who composed the music for the game, for creating such a tense atmosphere through sound alone. If anyone watching this video saw me play it live, first of all, no you fucking didn't. Second of all, you got to see why sound and colors are so important in creating the perfect atmosphere for a horror experience. Jumping at the sound of a door opening, or simply being so uncomfortable in a monochromatic color scheme just because red is sticking out and standing out so clearly against the monochromatic colors. Those are all things that would be seen as so small in the grand scheme of a game, but they're the reasons why it was so eerie. It's what builds up the suspense while literally nothing is happening. And to be honest, it's what made Detention stand out against all of the other horror games that I have tried to play. If you are new to the horror game genre or just a wimp like myself, I would say Detention is a relatively good starter game. It's not too horrific, it's not jumping in your face, but it is just eerie enough to make you kind of tense with your shoulders at the back of your neck. It doesn't just rely on jump scares, which again, I can't reiterate how much I love that. And it also has a really compelling story with historical value. And then the twists and turns of the plot itself all along the way really keep you on your toes. The puzzles are fun without being too tedious, something I can't really say for Bendy and the Ink Machine, for example. Editing Fritz here just to say that I am specifically referencing Chapter 3, where they're having you go back and forth between gathering a bunch of items, bringing them back to the door in order to progress, and then they would do that for the entire chapter, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Honestly, Bendy and the Ink Machine deserves its entirely own video, but I digress. There are some triggering moments within the game, so I would say anyone that is suffering from depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts, I would wait until you're in a healthier mindset to play this, as that theme does come up a few times, and I would hate for that to cause you any harm. And if not harm, then worsen those thoughts within yourself. Overall, I definitely think Detention is worth a playthrough too if you want to get the alternate ending as well. Let me know what your thoughts on the game are though, and what you felt was the best part of the game itself. Was it the sound? Was it the art? Was it just the actual story? I would love to know. I love talking about these things. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to catch me playing some other games live, you can do so at twitch.tv/lostboyfritz. I am currently playing a game of your guys' choice every Wednesday, which currently means Portal. Every Thursday I am currently playing One Shot, but because that's a shorter game, it may be something else by the time you join or by the time you see this video. And every Friday I actually edit my Twitch subs and my Patreon supporters clips into TikToks, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, what have you. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, or dislike it if you didn't enjoy it. And of course, subscribe for more content. I am trying to put out some more original content that's not just Twitch highlights, but I don't always have the time for that. Can't wait to get you again, and happy gaming, y'all.